Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my talk on fostering innovation through product marketing disruption. My name is Francisco Bram, and I lead product marketing at Uber for Business, Uber Eats for Business, and Uber Health. So let's get started, and let me share a little bit about myself. Let me start by sharing what I think are my most important traits. I was born in Portugal, Europe, but early on in my life, I had the desire to study and work abroad. I lived in Russia, the UK, Germany, and for the last 10 years in the United States. This really helped me develop a global mindset. I also grew up in a large family surrounded by cousins, uncles, and aunts, which helped me develop the ability to connect easily with people. And I've always developed my work around people, whether it's marketing or even influencing product roadmap decisions that are people-centric. Finally, living abroad also helped me be highly adaptable, which I put to use in my different sort of career industries that I've worked in, from travel to meal delivery, healthcare, pharmaceuticals. I have a variety of different industries that I was able to easily adapt and develop my best work because of my global mindset and my ability to connect with people. Also equally important, I think, is the variety of products that I was able to manage throughout my career. Here are some of the products and solutions that I managed. I added some links for each product in case you're interested in learning more. So I have products on the Uber side and products on the Siemens side, from ultrasound medical imaging to nuclear medicine, all the way to Uber Health or Uber for Business. Afterwards, when we share the presentation, if you're interested in digging deeper or double clicking in some of those links, you'll be able to learn a lot more about all the work that we've been able to accomplish over these years. But let's go to the meat of the talk. So what's the agenda? Here's what I prepared for you today. Why product marketing? Why is product marketing so critical to the success of businesses today? What makes a great product marketer? The differences between B2C and B2B product marketing. And then I will go and dive deep into some examples that I prepare for you today from Uber and also from Siemens that shows you how I apply those principles and the frameworks that I will talk about earlier in sections 1, 2, 3. So let's start with section 1. Why product marketing? As many of you know or have heard, product marketing is the process of bringing a product to market. Now that's a very narrow definition of product marketing. But businesses will often hire product marketers to help them quickly launch products, be first to market, to be considered a pioneering company. But being a pioneer doesn't mean you are innovating the market. Just because you're a pioneer, that does not make you an innovator. In fact, our history is full of examples of companies that were first to market, but were eventually overtaken by companies that were more innovative. And this brings me to my favorite example, an example I've heard from one of my favorite marketing gurus, Seth Godin. So I'm going to retell that story because I believe, to me, it's actually a perfect example of why product marketing. Have you ever heard the expression, the best thing since sliced bread? The best thing since sliced bread is an expression commonly used today to describe the latest and greatest innovation. The most interesting thing about this expression is the story that it actually tells us product marketers. So let me tell you that story that I find to be inspiring. The year is 1912, and Otto, an inventor and engineer, decided that enough was enough and he was done with manually slicing bread. He came up with the idea of building the world's first and only sliced bread making machine. He built prototypes, he tested them, he refined them, and eventually incorporated a company and was granted a patent. All of the things were lining up for this to be a success. Yet, from 1912 to 1930, nobody bought the idea of sliced bread. The market simply didn't see the value. It wasn't until the 1930s that a company called Wonder saw an opportunity. But before making the decision on commercializing the product, they decided to research the market, capture some audience insights, and put together a comprehensive go-to-market plan. They first started building B2B relationships and establishing some B2B marketing capabilities. They segmented the market into bakeries, supermarkets, and households. They started with the bakeries, promising them fresh bread each day. Here's a piece of advertisement they used. Then they move on to the next B2B relationship, the supermarkets, which needed to compete with the bakeries. So to them, they promised them fresh bread every day. Bread that is the lasts longer, 6 hours fresher than before, and can last long in shelf life, has a longer shelf life. Then they moved on to the bulk of the target audience, the consumers, the households, the mothers. To the mothers, they promised them that sliced bread, labeled Wonder Bread, builds stronger bodies in 8 different ways. They actually had a whole list of all the 8 different ways that Wonder Bread or sliced bread can help children develop a stronger body, from muscle, bones and teeth, body cells, blood. Clearly, the FDA did not regulate any of this at this time. Because this was so successful, they added a few more areas where sliced bread can make children grow bigger and stronger. They actually had 12 different ways or 12 different methods that sliced bread can help children develop and grow stronger. Obviously, today, this would not necessarily be the most acceptable advertising. However, they took a product, they understood the market, and they developed very personalized marketing and advertisement that made sliced bread today one of the most successful and one of the most sought out products in supermarkets. You go to any supermarket and you will find shelves and shelves of different types of sliced bread. That's their legacy. But they couldn't have done it alone. And this is really important. They needed the pioneer. They needed the product manager, the engineer, the developer that came up with the idea, developed the product, tested and run pilots, incorporated and filed for patents. What they added that was unique is really the core foundation for product marketing. Audience insights, business model, segmentation of the market, build a customer journey, and do personalized messaging. And this is really this perfect partnership that we often need to develop as partners of product management. We product marketers need to be able to be the architects of the go-to-market strategy based on the great work that product managers and engineers are building. So what makes a great product marketer? I know we all are product marketers, and some of us are, perhaps all of us are great, but there's always something more we can work on. And so I want to share something I learned and that I took some inspiration from a few years ago. A few years ago, Ben Horowitz, the co-founder of one of the most prestigious venture capital firms, wrote a blog post on what makes a good product manager and a bad product manager. So I took some inspiration from this post, and over the years, I developed what I call the 10 principles of a great product marketer. Principle number 1, audience insights, research and insights, marketing research, whatever you want to call it. A bad PMM, think this responsibility falls on the R&D or product management. They think Google Stats could be good enough as insights to drive product development. A great PMM understands how to leverage research and market data to uncover user insights, discover new use cases, and help drive product roadmap decisions. Number 2, product exploration. Bad PMMs think their role begins when the product is almost ready to launch. They think product exploration is not part of their job, it's the product manager's job. Great PMMs understand that a great product requires great marketing-driven insights and design thinking. Design thinking is key, and product marketers want to be part of that. They want to be contributors of the discovery. Product knowledge. Bad PMMs don't think they need to know all about there is to know about a product. They just need to market it. They think knowing how to demo a product falls on the product or sales responsibility. Great PMMs understand that best marketing comes from true product knowledge. They understand the competitive landscape, the product advantages, and its weaknesses. 4, go-to-market. Bad PMMs think project managers should manage the go-to-market process. It's too much to do cross-collaboration and get everybody on the same page. They want someone else to step up and take the lead. Great product marketers, they want to drive the go-to-market process. They want to drive the planning and execution. They understand all parts of the business and are respected across functionally to lead the go-to-market process. Number 5, storytelling. Bad PMMs think that reverting back to typical narratives that worked in the past or try to copy competitors' messaging is enough. Great PMMs are great storytellers. They understand the power of a great narrative and dedicate hours to developing a memorable and inspiring product story. Number 6, the brief. Bad PMMs think of briefing an agency or creative teams as a necessary, process. Great PMMs know that a great brief is key for creative work. In fact, they love writing briefs because they know it will inspire others and motivate them to bring their best work to life. Whether it's an agency, whether it's a CRM team or a performance marketing team, they know their brief is that single document that will inspire them to deliver fantastic work. Number 7, measurement and reporting. Bad PMMs think measurement is not their responsibility and often come up with excuses about why certain things can't be measured. Great PMMs know that measurement is key to demonstrate business impact of the go-to-market plan and tactics. They embrace data and they want to use it to get stakeholder buy-in. Number 8, marketing vision. Bad PMMs think short-term. They think of launch moments, and then after the product is launched, they move on to the next. Great PMMs, they craft a vision for the success of the product long-term. They develop tactics that are short-term, medium-term, and long-term focus so they can help drive product adoption today and 2 years from now. Number 9, grit and adaptability. Bad PMMs don't often take initiatives. They are unwilling to adapt to new organizational goals and frequently blame lack of resources for not being able to do everything others expect them to. Great PMMs can effectively work with senior executives on Monday, and on Tuesday, check their ego and take on the dirty entry-level work normally reserved by interns. They don't find excuses, they get things done. And if things change, they'll adapt and get things done again. That's a great PMM. Lastly, but not least, humility. Bad PMMs know when to take, but forget when to give credit. They measure themselves based on the executive feedback and put themselves first. Great PMMs are mentors, teachers. They always look to share their best practices to help others grow. The best praise they can get is a compliment on their team's work. They celebrate team's victories. So those are the 10 principles that I think makes up for a great PMM. And then there's some frameworks that great PMMs can also use. A great PMM knows what it takes to make a product a success and plays a pivotal role throughout the marketing value chain. This is what I call the marketing value chain, from insights all the way to growth. They support product managers with insights that can help drive product innovation. They own the go-to-market plan strategy and execution, and they are key partners in enabling regional marketers to grow product adoption and utilization. They don't settle for the traditional 4 Ps of marketing. They evolve to incorporate more value elements. Beyond positioning, pricing, promotion, and placement, great PMMs understand the value of evidence-based marketing, people education, training, and of course, these will always depend on the industry, especially if you're talking about B2C or B2B. Which leads me to my next section, B2C versus B2B. I understand some of you might either be a B2C product marketer or a B2B product marketer or both. But to those that are less familiar with B2B product marketing, I want to share some differences between B2C and B2B product marketing so that when I present to you the examples of Uber and Siemens, you can better understand sort of the context of why these were applied the way they were. So very quickly, I want to share sort of the differences between these two. Now, the lines between B2B and B2C can intersect at times. In fact, the same company might have both B2B and B2C initiatives. For my example, at Uber, we target businesses or restaurants, but we also target their clients, which are, of course, the consumers. So B2B audiences are seeking efficiency and expertise, while the consumer audience is more likely to be seeking deals and entertainment, something fun. Accordingly, the B2B process for getting people to sign up for your solution or product is a lengthy one. So your narrative is quite different. It's a narrative driven more by logic and financial incentives, while consumers are driven more by emotion. Also, B2B customers want to be educated. They want to become internal experts. B2B customers often want to look like the workplace heroes thanks to their excellent decisions in deciding whether to go with this company or that company. So detailed content is very required. Of course, the B2B buying cycle is so much longer that you need to consider multiple channels and all the different stakeholders involved. You need to know exactly how to nurture a lead, from the point of generating it to keeping it warm and making sure that your sales team is following up on those leads. It requires that you work with stakeholders like account managers, account executives, field demo specialists. So the B2B buying cycle is longer and it has more stakeholders. And product marketing sits at this intersection between product management, marketing, and sales. We help product managers develop the next generation products. We work with marketing to help grow the adoption and the success of that product. And then we work with sales to help them close deals and get customer feedback so that we can feed that customer feedback back into product management and build the next generation products. So it's kind of this cycle where product marketing is at the center of all. And as I mentioned previously, the buying cycle for B2B can be quite long, often requiring multiple tactics to generate one business opportunity. This requires a great PMM that can work cross-functionally to help plan and execute on all of these tactics. From strategy to driving awareness about your product, exploring interest with those potential prospects through very detailed content that helps them educate and be knowledgeable enough to position that product internally, to help sales close deals and then create loyalty programs and then create advocacy programs like case studies and endorsements, and then re-engage with new solutions. So it's a very long journey, and that's why it's so important that PMM really is able to establish strong credibility cross-functionally to help execute and coordinate all of these different tactics in a robust go-to-market plan. Finally, the role of PMM also has an impact in the sales funnel. We help drive marketing leads by uncovering who the decision makers are and their needs and build a plan around it. We help drive demand gen by helping support with content. We help then, of course, sales teams to better qualify those opportunities and close some of those opportunities with sales content that we create. And then finally, once the business is signed up, we also help account managers to cross-sell and upsell those accounts with new solutions. So product marketing has a ton of influence and has a lot to do in order to drive top of funnel leads all the way to accounts. Now let's talk about the fun part. How did I apply all these principles across my work at Uber and Siemens? I will start with my recent work at Uber, the launch of Uber Eats during COVID to the B2B audience. You probably are all familiar with Uber Eats, especially in the consumer world. But the business world, they were lacking innovative solutions to also offer Uber Eats to their employees or to their customers. So this is the example of that work that I'm going to share with you. How do we launch Uber Eats to the business world? As always, before we launch a product, before we launch our next sliced bread product, we need to understand if there's a market. Who are the buyers and what are their needs and wants? So we did individual interviews with stakeholders. We did online surveys and we ran focus groups. We did a series of research and insights, or we did a series of research tactics, and we uncovered insights that helped us really drive the product launch. I'm going to share just a few highlights of those insights. Insight number one, employee morale is always high when companies offer meals. In fact, based on our research, 67% of workers at companies that provide free meals reported they were very or extremely happy with their jobs versus workers that did not have that perk. And you can see there's additional reasons why investing in meals for your employees is so critical. So that's starting with one key element. Investing in meals for employees is important for employee morale and productivity and team building. The second insight was, do employees actually spend time going outside of the office to get meals? And we found that 1 out of 4 employees leaves the office for takeout food. So they clearly have the need to go outside to grab food. So we established that they want meals and they are willing to go outside to actually get those meals that are so appetizing to them. Number 3, another insight we uncovered is how much time they spent on average per month just finding a meal or restaurant they want to go to, eating at that restaurant, and then collecting those receipts and expensing those meals either at the end of the week or at the end of the month. We found that between 15 to 30 hours, that's how much employees spend on average with all these 3 different elements. So they want meals to be offered by the company. They want to explore different restaurants. That's why they go outside. But they're spending a lot of time doing so, time that is valuable for the business and even for the employees. Finally, we were in the midst of COVID. And we also found that 68% of employees wanted to avoid restaurants, even when they were asked to return back to the office. And a lot of the other ones were only comfortable going back to a restaurant when certain parameters, certain safety parameters were being met. So now we had all that we needed. We knew that employees, in order to be more productive, in order to be more effective, in order to be happier at their role, expect businesses to offer them meals, a variety of meals, and safe meals that help them save time and increase engagement. And that's why we decided that we needed to build a solution that offers all of those. And we did. So the next step was to arm our sales team with all of these insights so that when they meet customers, they can come across as credible with enough evidence to show, I understand your pain points, we have data to back this up, and here's a solution. So armed with these insights, we built a variety of tools and content for sales to empower sales and educate sales on Uber Eats for Business. So the first thing, of course, is always a sales pitch, the sales deck. And we created multiple sales pitches, whether you're trying to do a presentation in 5 minutes or 30 minutes, whether you're talking to someone on the C-level, or you're talking to an HR professional, whether you're talking to a procurement manager. We also needed to make sure that they have flyers available to them. Those are one-pagers. They can attach to an email, or they can attach to an outbound sort of, let's say, LinkedIn message to educate prospects on the value of Uber Eats for Business. Of course, proof points is critical. And I mentioned that. That's one of the extra P's. Beyond the 4 P's of marketing, that's the 5th P, evidence-based marketing. Proof points, evidence that shows that your solution does have value via examples from other companies that are using it. So we had a couple case studies that we were able to leverage during our pilot phase. And that's really critical. Product marketers, they need to leverage the MVP/pilot phase to extract insights and build case studies of stories or testimonials that you can use then to more confidently and credibly promote your solution. Then once we had our sales team ready to close deals, it was time to generate demand so that they can close deals. So that's what we call then, of course, the marketing plan or marketing initiatives. So the first thing we do is we built a toolkit. Product marketers at Uber, we have a key role to play, which is we need to build a toolkit or a playbook to empower regional marketing leaders or the heads of the country to successfully launch the product in their markets. So what does the toolkit include? The toolkit includes brand guidelines, how to launch this product in your market, audience insights, all the research that we've done for your market and globally, overview of our product solutions, how to pitch, demo the product. Also, a variety of creative tools. Here's email templates, here's photography, here's illustrations, here's videos, Here is how you should do an ad on Facebook versus LinkedIn versus Twitter. We put together all of those templates and all of those suggestions with the narrative, and we package that up in what we call a marketing toolkit. And we hand that over to the regions so that the regions can successfully launch the product. So on April 8th, we launched Uber Eats for Business. And of course, we leverage PR. That's one of the stakeholders we work closely with. And we're able to get a ton of press coverage from Bloomberg, Forbes, TechCrunch, VentureBeat. A lot of coverage that we were able to receive in 1 week that helped us drive also additional leads to our landing page. But in addition to that, like, I'm just going to share a few examples of content pieces that we created and some examples of marketing initiatives we created. One of them was a leadership ebook. This is basically a gated ebook. What is gated? Gated means you came to a specific page, which could be a Marketo page or your own landing page, because you saw an ad. You saw an ad, so you click on that ad and you landed on this page. And you now want to download that ebook because the ad was talking about insights that that ebook contains. And you, as a decision maker at a company, you want to be informed because you want to learn more about how you can be the hero internally to your company. But we don't want to just give you the ebook and not know who you are. So one way to actually learn more about you is to gate it. Gated means there's basically a contact us form, which we require for you to fill out in order for you to download that ebook. You type in your name, your company, the size of the company, so we can know exactly if we're going to assign, what kind of salesperson we're going to assign to you based on the size of your company and your industry. And then once you do that, you'll receive the ebook, and we will receive in exchange a lead that will then be routed to whatever lead generation or lead maintenance tool you have. Like, for example, we use Salesforce.com. So the lead will be transferred to Salesforce.com and assigned based on the geography and the size of the company to an account manager. So this is what we call a marketing lead, a marketing qualified lead. The second thing we did is we wanted to also bring people together. We want to be known as a thought leader in this space because we've done the research. We created an ebook. We know exactly what employees and businesses are experiencing, especially during this COVID. We've done a lot of research. So we developed a series of webinars where we invite peers to come together, listen to what we have to say, but most importantly, to talk to each other, because in this pandemic, most businesses we found are finding that there's no precedent for this and they don't know how to deal with it. So they're looking for other peers to sort of commiserate and come together and share best practices. So we enable all of that with a webinar. Not to mention the fact that we can also then at the end of the webinar capture all those leads and send them off to Salesforce.com so sales can then follow up again. We also, of course, do performance ads, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Google ads. The goal of these ads is really to drive awareness and provoke the audience to want to learn more. So they can click on it and be redirected to a landing page where they can find more information, or they can download an ebook, or they can register to a webinar. And our performance ads actually ended up generating up to 45% of all the new deals that we closed during that period, which is fantastic. This is a number that you can directly attribute to your work as product marketer. Finally, we also did a CRM upselling campaign. What this is basically we target all of our existing client base. We have over 150,000 businesses, 150,000 businesses that sign up for Uber for Business. So we target them and say, hey, we know you're using our products for rides. Have you considered using it for meals as well? And here's why you should. And because of this campaign, we're able to drive another 25% incremental business because we thought about targeting this existing base with this message, with this narrative. So I only covered a few elements. Of course, we've done a lot more. We've done blog posts, we've done social media. We've also did platform cross-selling ads. Like we would go to ubereats.com or just the Uber app, and you would see some messaging to cross-sell businesses. So all of this put together is really a robust go-to-market plan. And there's a lot more that I could cover, but given the time that I have left, I want to move on to the next one, which will talk about an entirely different industry, an entirely different company. Now, Uber is about 10, 11 years old. Siemens is about, I believe, over 100 years old at the moment. And so they've been around for a long, long time. And they're that kind of company that you all probably use their products but don't even know it. It's a pure B2B company. And in some ways, it's even more challenging to actually create awareness, because when nobody knows what you do, you now have to create a ton of awareness, a ton of campaigns. You have to really be disruptive and really, really set the bar high for how you want to get attention, for how you want to get people to come to you and learn more about your products. And that's what I'm going to share with you now. So Siemens has always been a pioneering and innovative company. However, back in 2015, one of their businesses called ultrasound imaging business was struggling. They were struggling to, get brand awareness, but even more, they were struggling with connecting with their audience. So they needed a killer product, a sliced bread product, if you will. So I was lucky to be part of that team, because this is probably one of the finest work that I've ever done. And so similarly, we started with capturing audience insights. Before we go out and build anything, let's understand how we are perceived, how our products are perceived with our target audience, and what do we need to do in order to build something that will resonate with them, that will connect with that audience. So the first thing we did was, of course, research. We surveyed 1,200 medical doctors across the US, UK, and China, and they were representing 43 hospitals and 82 imaging centers, in a variety of different roles, from radiology administrators to cardiologists. And the goal here was to understand how Siemens is perceived compared to other vendors in the ultrasound space, but also how Siemens is perceived as a brand you trust, as a brand you want to relate to in the ultrasound space, ultrasound imaging devices. So I'm only going to cover a little bit of the research that we've done, but I'm going to share, I think, the most exciting part. So what we did is we asked these respondents to select, amongst many questions, this was one of the questions, to select from a set of 100 images, general images, people walking with their dog by the beach, or people watching a football match on TV, or people driving a vehicle. So just generic images, 100 generic images. We told these respondents to select the one image that best represents the brand in their mind, and to describe how they feel about that brand. So for Siemens, we've done this for all the other vendors as well, but I'm only going to talk about Siemens. So for Siemens, the image that got the most votes, the most voted image out of 100 images was the image on the left-hand side. This gentleman in the black and white picture wearing a suit and a tie, followed by the image with the iris, followed by the scientific image, and then the innovative image. So in a way, what this audience was telling Siemens was, you are clearly innovative. You are clearly advanced in terms of scientific innovation. And you are visionary because you think about developing products that many other companies are not even thinking about. However, I find it hard to relate to your ultrasound business, because once you were the leader in ultrasound imaging, today I actually don't find it very hard to relate to you. I find it that you're very scientific, but not very emotional. I find it that you're very advanced, but not very practical. I find that you're very product-centric, not people-centric. This was the feedback we received. So we also asked for the same exercise for an old product that used to be the #1 product in ultrasound that Siemens used to own but then discontinued. That product was called Sequoia, like the tree. And that product was known as the gold standard for ultrasound. Siemens bought that company and then ended up discontinuing that product to launch a different product. So we wanted to know also from the respondents here, How do they feel about that product? And look at the difference. The image on the left was the image that got the most votes, the one that stands out amongst everyone else, followed by trustworthy, exciting, and innovative. And look at the comments. The world of Sequoia is a nice place, blue skies, happy people. The Sequoia world is green, tall trees. I'm almost positive it's a Siemens brand. I think Sequoia was the demo model they used. It was a really nice Cadillac. It was the dream machine in cardiology. So only positive feedback. The feedback that we received around Sequoia clearly demonstrated that this product, even though it had been discontinued, still had a lot of brand equity. In addition, we also learned by talking to all these physicians that obesity is the main problem facing medical imaging today. People are getting bigger. In the United States alone, 2/3 of people are obese. And this poses a lot of challenges to medical imaging, especially ultrasound, because ultrasound imaging traditionally could not penetrate deep enough into the abdomen of these large patients in order to actually visualize the liver or visualize the kidneys. And these people are so big, they don't fit in an MRI machine. They're so heavy, they don't even, the CT scan can't even hold them. So a lot of the times, we heard from a lot of doctors, they had to be sent to veterinary sites or zoos because they had large machines to scan animals. So this is terrible. This is terrible for the patients, and it's terrible for the hospital, which has to send them away somewhere else. So we heard that feedback, and we knew this is an opportunity. And finally, we're also able to develop clear segmentation amongst all the different stakeholders. We know exactly who they are, their needs, and the channels they use. And this is really important as we build a robust go-to-market plan. So in summary, from this research, amongst many things, the top 5 things I want you to take away from this was we were able to learn that Siemens was not being perceived as a company that is very relatable in ultrasound. And I have to emphasize this is specific to ultrasound. Siemens at this time did not communicate well with the customer base around ultrasound. And Sequoia, an extinct product line, was still the strongest brand product that they hold. Obesity was also the primary concern, and we were able to segment the audience. So with all of this in mind, we decided that we wanted to bring back Sequoia. So we worked with the engineering team. The engineering team built the next generation ultrasound device, and we named it Accuson Sequoia because of the high brand equity that it had, because we knew if by calling it Sequoia alone, people want to know about it. They want to see if this is truly the Sequoia. They want to know if this will live up to the glory and nostalgic feeling that Sequoia once had. So we did that. We launched the Accuson Sequoia, the return of the icon. And now I'm going to talk about how we enabled sales to be successful and how do we market this product successfully. So starting with sales enablement, we wanted to be creative. We really wanted to empower sales anywhere they are to talk about the product successfully. So we built what we called an Alexa skill. So if you would go to the Amazon store, you can download the skill called Ultrasound from Siemens, and you will be able to ask Alexa anything you want about the Accuson Sequoia, and you will learn all about the product, how to pitch the product. So salespeople on their way to meet a customer, they can simply play that on their phone, or if they have the device, Alexa device, they can also play on that device and be prepped for that meeting, because we added all the content they needed in order to be successful to position the product the most effective way. In addition, we built a series of content from brochures to flyers to infographics, and we created what we call the demo playbook. How do you pitch this product? How do you demo this product in 5 minutes to a radiologist, or in 15 minutes, or in 30 minutes, versus a hospital administrator, versus a cardiologist, or versus a sonographer technologist? So we created videos with the best experts, the actual salespeople. We identified the best salespeople in the field. We brought them in. We recorded them demoing the product using our script. And then we shared it with all their peers. And of course, coming from their peers adds a lot of weight. And so we did that, and we made it available on their phones. They can download the audio. It had subtitles for all the other countries. And it was very successful as well. Now let's get to the meat of it, the marketing launch. So the first thing we wanted to do is we knew we had something special. We knew the name was exciting. So we wanted to start teasing the market. We wanted to let the market know something truly exciting was coming down in a month or two. So let's start teasing the market. So 3 months before, we had digital flyers that we were promoting that alluded to the name Sequoia, but it never really talked about the naming Sequoia, because we knew if we did name Sequoia, that a lot of the current deals probably would be halted. Businesses will probably stop until the Sequoia comes out. So we had to be careful, but at the same time, we needed to let them know that we're coming up with something great. The view is lonely up here, but the picture is unlike anything you've ever seen, or a blast from the past, or simply ahead of its time, and so much more. We also built a virtual reality experience. This experience was to educate customers, patients, how our scanner really helps them sort of go deep into the abdomen and look at lesions inside the liver, for example. So this virtual reality experience we used throughout all of our events. And then we had to do something truly remarkable. So I got this inspiration many years ago when I read the book, The Purple Cow from Seth Godin. And the whole notion of the book is you could be driving down the road and you see a bunch of cows on the right-hand side in the pasture. And you probably ignore them because you've seen cows all your life. So they're not remarkable. They're just noise. But if the cow is purple, suddenly you stop your car, you want to take a picture, you want to take a selfie, you want to let everybody in the world know that you saw a purple cow. And that's the key sort of premise. How do you make your business so remarkable that everyone wants to talk about it? And this is especially important in B2B. In B2B, you go to a lot of trade shows and conferences and fairs, and you're competing with all these other companies trying to, be the loudest voice. Siemens, for example, has an amazing booth, and they try to do the same. So many years ago, unrelated to Sequoia, this is a different product, but I want to give you that example. We had a product that was helping to diagnose early onset of Alzheimer's disease. And this was in 2012. And so we needed to create a purple cow. So we brought in an agency called Legacy Effects. They are the ones who did all the animatronics for the Avengers, for X-Men, for the Terminator, Jurassic Park. And so we knew we can work with them to build something extraordinary as well. So we identified someone that could be an example of someone that suffers from Alzheimer's disease. His name was Jill. And we asked the agency to create a giant animatronic head of this particular person that felt real and that would interact with you. So you would walk by, he would look at you, but then you would look at you again confused. And then you would look at the back of the brain, it would be open. Digitally, you could see the brain, and you can see that over time, amyloid plaques would be building up in the brain, making this particular person forget and lose the connections to memories. So they would forget and they would be confused. So we put that at trade shows, and it was the talk of the show. Everybody would come, they wanted to see it. They were either freaked out because it looked so real, or they were intrigued, they wanted to learn more about it. So you had tons of people coming over, taking pictures and reposting and sharing on their social media sites. So based off this success, I knew we needed to generate another purple cow for Sequoia. And remember, the topic was obesity. That's what we uncovered in the audience insights. Obesity was a key topic. So how do we create something remarkable that also creates empathy? We couldn't just have large people be part of our promo trailers because that has been done before. And not only that, but it's hard to many people to relate to that. So we wanted to make people intrigued. And so we needed to show that this system, the Sequoia, can scan even the largest, most extraordinary person alive. And so we brought in two extraordinary people. One was Yama. Yama is the world heaviest sumo wrestler still alive. He weighs 600 pounds or 270 plus kilos. He's one of the world's heaviest people, and he's tall as well. But we knew that the sumo wrestler would play well in many countries. He might not necessarily play well in the US because sumo is not necessarily big in the US, but football is. And there's tons of football players that are extraordinarily big, and they can also be scanned. So we used them both. We created promo trailers showcasing them both and a day in their lives and how they have to go through life with the size that they have. and how often when they have a problem and they have to go to the hospital to identify that problem, they experience difficulties. And of course, comes our product, the Hero, which comes and saves the day by being able to allow physicians to scan very deep into the abdomen and give them crystal clear images. So that was the premise. But we knew videos is not enough. Doctors, especially doctors, they need to know that this really works and this is not just a marketing stunt. So we brought Yama and the football player Greg with us to all the trade shows. And we let physicians scan them live. Here's me and Yama on stage unveiling the product for the first time in Seattle. That was the launch event. And then here on the right-hand side is one of the people actually scanning Yama live in our Sequoia machine so that they know this is real. It really does the trick. In addition to that, we went on a global roadshow from Seattle to Berlin, Germany, to Bangkok, Thailand, Singapore, Tokyo, Dubai, China. We launched the product globally, and we always brought either Yama or the football player with us because we knew people wanted to see him, people wanted to talk about it, and they wanted to scan him. And very quickly, we got tons of coverage online and across different media channels. In fact, we even went on a media tour. This is me together with a physician talking to 22 different TV networks and radio stations and podcasts. We were able to get 9.5 million impressions. And with it, get a ton more of interest that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So all in all, and there's a lot more that I could cover, but given the time, and we're almost running out of time, I wanted just to say that it doesn't matter the industry you're in. If you apply these principles, the how to be a great product marketer and the frameworks I've shared, and you always think about that purple cow effect, create a remarkable campaign moment, then you can drive product growth and adoption. So I didn't want to leave, or I didn't want to stop before sharing with you some of the books that inspired me throughout my life. Here's a few of them. The Purple Cow from Seth Godin that I mentioned, Positioning, Contagious, Persuasion, Eat Your Greens, and The Anatomy of Humbug. And of course, all the books by Malcolm Gladwell. I don't know if you ever read any of them, but if you didn't, I highly recommend it. Is my favorite author, and there's a lot of topics that he covers that are true inspirations for marketing. Finally, I also want to let you know that there's another great talk planned for this Masters of Product Marketing that I highly recommend you all to attend. Laura Jones is our Uber's guru of product marketing. She's an incredible leader with a ton of experience and many great insights that she will be able to share with you all. She's actually one of the reasons I am here at Uber today. So tune in September 28th, 2020 to listen to Laura and learn a lot more from her experience and from all the insights she will be able to share. So that's all I had to share today. I hope that you find it insightful and that you can apply some of these principles as well so that I can then look for you and see you launch the next best thing since sliced bread, which I know you will. With that, let's open up for Q&A. I have a couple questions. I hope everyone can hear me well. The first question that I see is, how do you foster those great traits in junior PMMs? One speaker mentioned embracing failure to encourage that element of discovery. How else would you suggest developing these skills in others and or even upskilling yourself in these areas? Great question. I found the best way to bring the best out of junior PMMs is to let them shadow your work. Shadow how you lead meetings, shadow how you deal with cross-functional stakeholders. In addition, to your point, create a culture that embraces failure. To me, success is nothing more than going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm or even losing grit. And I think these 10 principles of what makes a great PMM, they should also be part of the onboarding process. When I, for example, have a new junior PMM join my team, that's part of the principles. Beyond the principles of the culture of the company, here are the best principles that you should learn how to become a great PMM. You can even print these principles and have them at the desk as well. But ultimately, I think really it's all about leading by example. having them shadow your work and how you are contributing to product discovery by participating or even being proactive in organizing design thinking workshops, which we do a lot at Uber. I think that's sort of like an element that really adds credibility to product marketing within product management, within the other stakeholders, and sort of like lead by example. I think many leaders prefer to keep those relationships private. They even avoid inviting junior PMMs to certain executive meetings. I find the opposite to be best, meaning whenever possible, I always invite a junior PMM to come in with me so they can shadow, see how I interact with senior stakeholders, and see how I approach cross-collaboration. Okay, another question that I see here is on that topic of bringing people back to the office, as well as the meal plan idea, which is awesome. Thank you. Which kind of procedures are you implementing to make sure people can carry out their tasks effectively? So we built a strategy brief together, and while PMM owns the brief, I believe in sharing that ownership with cross-functional teams like regional marketing leaders, performance marketing, CRM, content marketing. I found the most success in getting each cross-functional team effectively delivering their work by making sure they know that they own the brief as well. They feel like they're co-owners of the strategy, that it's not just PMM coming up with the strategy and they're just pawns executing on the strategy. So I found that if you bring them up front to the development of the brief, you're early on, you're setting already the bar high for them because you're making sure that they know they're owners of this. We're delivering this to senior executives. We're presenting this to senior executives as a team. So we all now expected to deliver on that. We also have a global calendar where all tactics and initiatives are being shared up to senior management, placing an emphasis on ownership across the team. And we also have weekly cross-functional team meetings where we go through the calendar and we go into deep dives in certain tactics. We use Slack for office communications, and that's great too, so that we can have a group campaign on Slack and we keep each other updated. And finally, we have what we call marketing monthly reviews with senior executives, where we update everyone on the progress of the campaign, giving each stakeholder a voice, basically. So what I would say is I find that if you allow people to co-own the strategy with you, even though you're driving it, I find that you don't need to chase people down as much to get things done, and people will feel empowered and feel like they're owners as well. Let's see what else we have. From B2B software as a service with long lead times for deals, any particular insights to bring enthusiasm, evangelism to buyers who need to get buy-in from buying teams and stakeholders? That's a great question. And that takes me back to that one slide that I showed, the whole customer journey in B2B. And software as a service is probably the same as we're experiencing on the Uber side, on the tech side. And at Siemens was even longer. You're looking at sometimes 8 months to actually sign a deal. So what I found is the best way to keep sort of like customers engaged and motivated is to nurture them. That's what we call lead nurturing, which I'm sure you're familiar with it. But it's think about all the steps from the moment they become aware that you exist to the moment they become aware that your solution might be relevant to them. What are all the other things you need to do in order for you to close the gap between awareness and signing the deal? And we all think, okay, they registered to the webinar, they got a demo, they're not considering it, we just have to wait. And I think that's a mistake, because waiting can be actually the worst thing you can do, because a lot of the times these discussions, like you're very carefully highlighting here, they need to influence people internally in order to get buy-in. So you need to help them do that. So I would recommend to work with sales very closely, to make sure that there's follow-ups frequently and that you produce content, even though you think about it already during the strategy plan, to build content so that you can nurture that particularly throughout the whole process, from awareness on, let's say, social media or a press release, to educational content. Like, here's an ebook. Hey, I know you signed up for a webinar and you attended our webinar. Here's additional insights that we found from other stakeholders in the same industry. Sometimes even sharing data from your own company about your peers without naming their peers is incredible. So it's very successful. We found that companies want to know, because of the fear of missing out, what other players in the same industry are doing. And so a lot of the times what we do is we produce a report and we say, in, let's say, the tech industry, in the vertical of, let's say, real estate, your peers are currently using our services for these particular use cases. So now you're creating the fear of missing out, but you're also telling them, we have credibility with your peers or with your competitors. So they trust us, you can trust us as well. And then keep creating that content and keep helping sales to sort of constantly follow up on those leads. Okay, so let's see the next question. If your background is not PM, or if you've been typecast into a certain job function like sales, IT, or human resources, where would you start in an attempt to get hired in PM? And I'm assuming PM, you mean product marketing, when your resume doesn't necessarily prove your potential. That's a fantastic question. And by the way, I did not start off as a product marketer. I started off as business development. Then I moved on to strategy, mergers and acquisitions. And then I spent the last 10 years in product marketing. So I'm the clear example that you don't necessarily have to have studied product marketing. You don't have to necessarily have done product marketing as right off the gate, right off your college years, but that you own certain skill sets that are relevant for that job function, and you have evidence from your experience that you can demonstrate that. So for example, in my case, business development and strategy, a lot of the components that we had to do in strategy and business development is how do we build a plan working cross-functionally, because business development has to work with sales, they have to work with product, they have to work with engineering. How do I build a strategy cross-functionally so that we can sign a new partner for our business? That's what in BD I was responsible for, signing new partners. And so I used that as an argument to why I could help product marketing eventually, because I knew product marketing also has to work cross-functionally, also has to be strategic. They have to empower other teams to sort of sign up to your strategy and help develop and deliver on that strategy. And I think it's all about where you come from. So if you come from sales, for example, you already have tons of domain knowledge in how to work with customers. You know the customers in and out. You know their pain points, probably better than any person internally. And you also know who the decision makers are. So you have a strong component, what I call inbound marketing component. You just need to then work on your outbound component, but having sales relationships is critical. If you come from IT, of course, that's a more specific skill set, but you can always find ways and what makes an IT manager great and how that translates into product marketing. And I think if you look at the 10 principles of PMM that I highlighted, you'll find that you'll probably have some of those in other functions as well. And I think when I look for a new PMM, I don't necessarily look for a PMM that has PMM experience. I look for accomplishments. And I've hired people with no PMM background. I hired at Siemens people that came with a clinical background to join my team. And I knew they had the clinical background. I knew they knew customers. I knew they know how to demo the product. And so they complement me because I didn't have that in my team. So I can help them with the components of marketing, and they can help me with the clinical and demo part of it. So a lot of the times, best leaders look for people that complement them and are even better at them in certain functions, as opposed to trying to find someone who's like me. That's at least how I found the best approach. The next question. As products develop, from Harshal, I think I know this person. As products develop, how important it is to continue your GTM theme from launch as opposed to creating a new approach? Is there a risk of diluting your message, especially as you turn around business? Sorry, I need to go back. Yes, so that's a great question, Harshal, and this is something that I know a lot of businesses struggle with. So very quickly, I think one of the great traits of PMM is the adaptability component. And a lot of the bad PMMs, they will be frustrated when there's a change in product scopes, when there's a change in product timelines, and because they feel like the whole plan now is ruined. And I think that's a bad PMM. A great PMM is someone who can adapt and is always working closely with product, is always working closely with customers, and is always getting feedback, constant feedback. At Uber, for example, we have nonstop weekly feedback sessions with customers, with drivers, with couriers. And I think that's critical. If you follow that, then you always be able to, in real time, adapt your product. I mean, I always think of your product marketing as the architect of a house, while the engineering team and product management team are the ones who actually built the house. We're just architecting how that house should look externally. What's that vision for the house, the umbrella or roof of the house. So I think you should never start with the roof. You should start with the foundations. And if you have a close loop with engineering and product management, you can in real time adapt your product strategy and your theme in order to achieve that. But I do understand the frustration sometimes when you have a great team that you work with creative agencies, and then you're super excited about it, and then suddenly the product is delayed, and then COVID hits, and then suddenly that theme is no longer valid because COVID changed everything. Totally understand, but that's why I think great product marketers need to be able to adapt quickly. I think there's one more question. I know we're out of time, but I'll be happy to answer that question as well. Or no, it's just a comment, so I think we're good.
Yeah, no, all good. Perfect timing as well. Only 1 minute over.
Perfect.
So thank you so much, Francisco. Really great talk. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and for asking such great questions as well. And hope to see you all next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. See you.